The Ministerial Educational Fund, as I understand, we support 13 colleges and universities across our nation. Yet there are other institutions of higher learning that are turning out Methodist ministers. How does this whole funding process work?
Interesting that the Ministerial Education Fund actually began right here in North Georgia. A layperson by the name of D.W. Brooks was an international businessman, agriculture, and he came up with the idea that we would ask each congregation to pay into what was called the 1% fund. Let's take 1% of our apportionments and our giving and put it in a special fund for the ensure the theological education of our ministers. That thought was picked up by the general church and was incorporated as the Ministerial Education Fund, originated right here in North Georgia. That money is distributed. 25% of it stays in the annual conference to be used as the annual conference wants to use it for education of local pastors and for loans and grants to students who are going to the schools of theology. The 75% of that money is distributed to 13 official schools. Now, the 75%, Lowell, is $14 million a year, a lot of money. And that's an important part of the budget of several of these 13 official schools. However, when you try to do accountability, and this is one of the things that we're learning as we have pressed for more information, we owe a lot to Joe Whittemore for digging in and getting a lot of this information. But when we look now at graduates, we see that a place like Gammon Theological Seminary, on average, the past 2 years has given us 3 new clergy per year. They get $810,000. That's $270,000
per student
per year per ordained minister, and that's just off the charts so far as practicality. Duke Divinity School gives us 50 ordained clergy per year on average, and at a cost of about $30,000 per minister that comes into the connection. So it's a wide range of expenditure, and they're going to change. Now, this is one of the changes that has come about because we are holding people accountable. One of the changes that's coming about is that they want to change the formula and allocate the money more based on the number of graduates
that the way enter the
units. This is a move in the right direction, and it's very helpful. Now, another thing that we learned here, Lowell, is that none of this $14 million is specifically allocated to our schools of theology in Africa. Many of us know about Africa University, but there are schools of theology in the Congo, there are schools of theology in Angola, in Liberia, in Nigeria, and they're not funded from this. And yet we need trained ministers in Africa. Well, the schools of theology have now agreed, based upon our holding them accountable and challenging them about how they're using this money, to allocate 15% of this $14.5 million per year to Global Fund for use in places like Africa. This is good and this is helpful, but let's remember, Africa constitutes not 15% of the church, but 35% of the church. And they have great needs. I've been to Africa and I've seen the students there who do not have running water inside their dormitory. You go outside, you bathe by dipping and cook over a charcoal fire. And yet in the United States, our students live in comfortable dormitories and have much better access to the facilities that we've grown and think that our students should have. So wide disparity in the way we're treating people, and yet they want to create a, while they want to give them money and provide more regular and consistent funding, it isn't enough, and there's not enough accountability yet in what's happening.
Well, let's keep working on it.
That's right. Amen.